From the Sunshine State, this is Tampa Bay's Tan Talk.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the imho.love show. I'm Lou Angelwolf here with Mike Murburg and Kathy McGuire. It's the In My Humble Opinion .love show. And we have an exciting show for you. Today is the 18th of December, 2019. We are quickly running out of Wednesdays in 2019.
And shopping days for Christmas.
Yeah, we're all tense about that. Yeah. But anyway, thanks for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen. We are on the Tan Talk Radio Network. That's various AMs around the Tampa Bay area and a couple of FMs as well. And the show, we broadcast the show every week on Facebook Live. So if you're tuned into my Facebook page, or and then everything is archived at imho.love, and they're also archived at YouTube on imho.love, and as well as BitChute. All that happens after the show, but to listen live, you can also go to tantalk1340.com, and that's the station's website, and hit the listen live button, and here we are. You're going to be on that camera, and Facebook is on this camera, and welcome everybody. How you doing, Michael? How's life? You good?
Life is always good. It's sometimes a little bit more complex than you'd like it, but it's always good.
True words.
I will second that statement.
And thank you, everybody, for all your thoughts and prayers and traveling mercies that you gave me. I had a fantastic trip up to the Georgia area. And, dude, I tell you what, it's a fun town, but you can keep that traffic, brother. I mean,
I mean Atlanta?
Atlanta?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man. It's
South Side at 5 o'clock.
Oh,
you get buried there. Okay. Nobody knows.
So you're cramping my style, because that's where I'm leaving for Atlanta tomorrow morning for 2 days.
Stay to the outskirts.
Okay. Yeah. But if it's 3 hours either side of 5 o'clock, you don't have a chance.
It's brutal, dude. It's six lanes going both ways. Yep. Neither one of them moving. But I had a lovely time. My friend Mimi and I got to go to a Atlanta Hawks game, courtesy of our friend Chuck up at Kennesaw Trucking.
Cool.
Dig this. Okay. He goes, you want to go to a Hawks game? I go, I'd love to. That'd be great. So initially he was going, then he couldn't go. And then he sends us our parking pass, and we had our lanyards and everything. I says, diamond parking. So I'm going, oh, that's nice. So we go, we finally find the diamond parking after much pursuit. And we walk through the door, and it says Diamond Club and NBA players only. So we're actually going in.
Wow.
Right. Dig this. So we come down the little chute, and there's a lady there with the little scanner, and she goes, oh, okay. She scans our passes. And then they open up to the left side. There is the Delta 360 Club. And they're there carving prime rib, just full-on meals, a shrimp scampi and just pizzas, and all gratis. Okay, free cocktails. Okay, so we're like, wow. Sorry, we ate lunch. And then one of the servers came by, and she goes, "Oh, you're in my section." She goes, "Let me know when you want to go out to the court, and I'll show you your seats." So it comes that time. We walk past the bleachers. We're not sitting there. We walk past the regular seated flat. We're in one of the end zones. Okay, right by the goal. Okay, and then we're like walking towards the court. Our seats were courtside. There was nobody in front of us.
Which the person behind you was really upset because you're so tall.
Well, these are the breaks.
It's too bad it wasn't a Harlem Globetrotters game. You could have won confetti.
That's right.
But anyway, I've never seen a basketball game like that. And it was absolutely fantastic. I had a great time. Mimi had a great time. And I can't thank Chuck enough up at Kennesaw Trucking. Just totally did us a solid. And I also got to do one of my favorite things. You know, I'm an amateur photographer. I got to shoot an old car junkyard up there. You'd have dug this, Rick, Robert. And it was his dad's Robert too. Anyway, it's in a little town called White, Georgia. And it's the oldest functioning, it's 88 years old. Okay, but it's really not a junkyard anymore. It's more of a photographer's place.
Because if you go to Black, Georgia, they're still driving them.
Oh, okay. Where am I going to get parts for this? Anyway, a beautiful, I mean, there's cars there from the 30s and 40s and 50s. And I was able to wander through there, and I got some really, really great shots. And it's called Old Car City, USA. And if anybody is a photographer and you like that kind of subject matter, it's pretty endless. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we got a great show lined up for you tonight. Mike and Kathy and I welcome our friend. He's been with us before, but he's got all kinds of new adventures happening. Some of you may remember him as Buddy Bolton, but lately these days he's becoming known as Psychic X. So without waiting anymore, let's welcome Buddy Bolton. Welcome to the imho.love show.
Thank you, guys. Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Kathy and Lou and Mike, and just really appreciate you guys.
And our friend Kat Carroll helped line all this up for us, and we appreciate her so much. Well, Buddy, you are off on a major new adventure. I really love the organic nature of what you're trying to accomplish. Just to tell our audience, you are a very well-respected psychic, and you do the remote viewing. In fact, a couple of weeks ago, we had Dr. Simeon Hine on the show with us, and he gives you major kudos. And it's just like the show is evolving in this beautiful, natural way, and we're getting some really, really great information out there. Tell me a little more about the nature of the Psychic X thing.
Well, basically, I was kind of Psychic X first, where I was doing some psychic stuff, and for a group I can't really talk about now. There's a couple of those that are that situation, but and so there were different psychics, and they were listed by different letters. And I wanted to be X. I was supposed to be like D or something like that. And I said, can I be X? And so on all the paper stuff, I was Psychic X. So that's what that was. And when I do research and different projects, that's kind of the name. And so I kept a lot of that under my hat for a bunch of different reasons. One is when you're doing, this is really cutting edge stuff. We know, people like us who are initiated know that everything's connected. It's all connected, from CE5 to Ghost to ET contact to ESP. It's all connected. There's this field, there's this substructure that allows just amazing things to happen. And, for me, I've had that ability, and I wanted to make it better and better, and I wanted to make it so that I could take it to researchers, I could take it to scientists, and they could push the button and kick the tires and take it around the block. And, our channel, we preach a lot about, working during adversity and practicing during adversity and working on the whole psychic body. And we have a bunch of different exercises and stuff. But, I've just been blessed to get the interest of the very top researchers and worked on, stuff I'll be able to talk about at some point, maybe in 6 months. People will be like, holy, Toledo, what the F?
Yeah, we already know what kind of place Toledo is. So
the stuff we've done is, I'll tell you some of the effects. I've been able to prove conclusively that I have the ability to affect random number generators, true random event generators from different groups, different research groups. And in fact, on several occasions, I've almost taken control of it.
Wow.
And stuff that's just, it's so hardcore. And everyone has all sorts of different phenomena happen in their life. And they're not blessed enough, like I have been lately, to have a scientist there, so that I feel like, wow, this is okay. If a scientist is freaked the F out, it's okay for me to be freaked the F out. I was recently for example, I go around to different places, and I was just in Huntsville, Alabama, at a lab there with some very well-known, some of the top rocketry guys and aerospace guys in a very big aerospace company. And they were testing some of the things I could do, from an electrostatic generators to shielded compasses. And it took me about 15 minutes to start. It was a little slow start at that test, but I got the stuff moving, everything moving, way beyond, controls. And ultimately, you remember, Mike, when I kind of predicted your sighting that you had there, and the times, and I drew a picture of it and the location. All of this stuff is all connected. It's all connected. And we all have, none of our senses are perfect.
Right.
And our psychic sense is not perfect either. But just like your taste can be improved, and there's wine tasters who get better and better, you can improve your hearing, you can improve all sorts of different things. The psychic ability is very much like that.
Wow.
And it's conclusive that this stuff is real. It exists. If I am able to affect random number generators.
What do you mean, like a bingo ball machine? Is that what you're talking about?
No, it's an electronic machine that basically it detects a quantum fluctuation.
Okay.
So there's two different types of random number generators. There's a regular random number generator, and then there's something called a true random number generator, or random event generator.
Okay.
And the random number generator is humans' attempt at doing random.
Okay.
And if you really think of random is a very complex question, actually, and it's very, very difficult to truly achieve random. Just thinking about, well, what's your scope? From what number to what number?
Mm-hmm.
There's so many different ways. Regardless, there's another form called a true random event generator, and it detects a quantum randomness, whether something's on, off, it happens, it doesn't happen.
Right.
That's a very indeterminate random thing. So you're basically, your finger's on the pulse of the universe, our reality. It's taking the pulse of our reality, as opposed to the random number generator. It's just humans, So our ability to affect these things and these machines, many people have done it. They've shown it over time. I was in Vegas with Dr. Dallenberger, and I, went with $300, and I left with, I think it was $3,200 or something like that. But
so in other words, oh really? Okay, wow.
Machines, yeah.
Well, buddy, that's really fascinating stuff. And I know that you have gone through some lifestyle changes to kind of like a training camp. You're taking away distractions of the common world, so you can truly concentrate on your psychic athleticism. Let's put it that way.
Absolutely.
And that, brother, that is amazing. It's an amazing level of dedication, and that's why we're so happy to have you on the show. Now, Mike, you remember I was there the night that Buddy called prior to our Skywatch, and tell everybody what happened that night.
Oh, okay. Let me blow off the brain cells here. I did a video on it, and it's posted on my YouTube site, Norman Murburg, for what it's worth. And I bring up the drawings that Buddy sent and whatnot. But as I remember it, Buddy and I had a conversation. We got together and we did we agreed that his group and mine would do a conjoined CE5, where they would remotely check in with our group. And we kind of checked them in. And then Buddy essentially had drawn what he had remotely viewed, and didn't tell me what was going to happen. And what we saw that night were, I called them the dancing, the circular spaceships. And I only got a brief view of them, but a couple people in the group got really great views of them.
Depends on which way you're facing in the circle.
It does, and how long you were allowed to see them. But actually, Rosemary, that was her. She was there that night. She saw it, and she's Orlando's wife. Okay, you put me on the spot, so I'm forgetting.
That's okay. But Derek Reichart was there too.
Yeah, and she actually drew. We with those of us who have experiences and that are profound, we go in and we log them into the ranch journal. And what she ended up doing was logging him into the ranch journal, and then the next day, I asked Buddy to send me what he had seen, and we hadn't talked at all. And he ended up sending his drawing of the field we're reviewing, Darby Ranch, with the prominence and the two large oak trees. And then he ended up drawing the ships that were dancing with each other in a circular fashion.
Yeah.
And he sent them both to me. I didn't discuss with him what we had seen that night. And then it was rather remarkable. And
he even hit the time.
Yeah, hit the time right. I haven't had a chance to refresh any recollection on this, but yeah, Buddy is held in extremely high regard as a psychic. When he was out with Hollis and with Costa, the report, even though Buddy got ill out there, the common understanding was, wow, this guy's really got something amazing going on. So, give him as much help as you can.
Yes.
That was an amazing thing in Joshua Tree. They had a psychic class, and I got all the different stuff right. They had a surprise, object that we had to guess what it was. And before the class, out front, I drew lime green, the word lime green. And then in my iPad, I drew a lime green rectangle. And so in the middle of the class, they break and say, everyone leave. We're going to select an object, and then everyone's going to, say what they think it is, and then, we'll go through it. And there's multiple witnesses that saw me do that, and then it was exactly what I had drawn, a lime green rectangle, and there's just so many of these things, and it just happens again and again and again and again, and it's really a blessing.
Yeah.
To just have the understanding to do this stuff and to see it happen. And for me, there's even one bigger blessing.
What's that?
And so much of this stuff is about walking the path of virtue.
Okay.
2,000 years ago, the Yoga Sutras spoke very clearly about these abilities. And it's not a mystery. And when you walk the path of virtue, you may struggle, you may have adversity and difficulty, but at each level of difficulty, as you walk this path of virtue, you kind of get better and you kind of increase. And it's almost like a responsibility training, because if I can affect something at a distance, I don't want to be angry. There was a time where I got angry at a friend about 2 years ago, and he got really sick. I mean, like instantly really sick. And he's like, "Oh, buddy, stop being mad at me." And,
wow.
Even if that's psychosomatic, you don't want that out there. And you have to have greater and greater responsibility. So this past year, I've, been living in the truck, and I work a lot with the homeless and the destitute and the drug addicted. I've taken many people from the street, walked them through the process at the local treatment center, went and visit them at the shelter. There's, testimonials and stuff, and do a lot of healing with the homeless. There's a lot of people in the Bronx and in this area particularly who don't have any money, who can't get Medicare or Medicaid, or there's this wonderful woman that I've dealt with like 5 different parts of her body. And, this kind of thing is so rewarding. And yes, there's been a lot of adversity for me. It's part of the path and part of the journey, but it's been so meaningful to me. And I work with a lot of different incredible healers. You guys know Super Sleuth and some of the other healers we work with, and we've had so many incredible testimonials, and we've been blessed to be a tiny part in these miracle healings, cancer and major, major, major things. And if there's one point any of the listeners could take from anything that I say, is that their potential is so much larger than they know, and their consciousness matters. every thought that they have matters.
Yes.
When they get wound up in a negative space or a negative thought, they are bringing that into reality.
Yes.
You're bringing negativity into reality. You have to find a way to trick yourself, change your habits. And there's a lot of things you can do to do that. And we've even dealt with people who had, quote unquote, negative entity possession. We've had several of those. And, this stuff is, very serious to the people involved. It's very serious to us. And it's such a blessing to be allowed into these sacred spaces of health. And people, for a woman to say, I've got, uterine cysts and, I need your help, or that's, people are really opening up their life and their space and their heart and their hurt and their health and everything to us. And we just want to do a great job. And, technically we don't like to talk about the healing stuff or brag about it too much. We have to mention it to say it's part of the whole package.
Right.
I'll kind of briefly explain how this all kind of works. It's all this field. And if you look at a tree from above, it looks separated. There's a fruit over here and some leaves over here, and a squirrel pops up out of nowhere and disappears, and branches are moving separated, and they all look like separate things.
Right.
But when you look at the tree from the side, you notice that these separate things have branches underneath that connected hubs, and then those create other branches and more hubs, and then less hubs, and then less, until finally you get to one trunk and everything is connected.
Right.
And that's kind of how I think of our universe as. So you can remote view first. You see something at a distance, and then you resonate with it. You empathize with it. And empathy is love and resonance. And you really resonate and empathize with it, and you can affect physically it. You can change it. You can move it. You can heal it. And there's zero doubt of that. I mean, there's so much scientific evidence behind it. And society's society's scared of some of this stuff. We've got physical education for our kids, but we don't teach them consciousness education.
Right.
If every kid knew that they could get superpowers, basically, from empathy, we might have a lot less shooting at school.
Oh, without a doubt.
And it sounds corny, it sounds hokey, but it's not.
But
we don't even know the core nature of consciousness and how it interacts with reality. And the highest levels of science.
And buddy, you're absolutely right. And each of us, and we talk about this very often on the imho.love show, about the power of prayer and intention and meditation that each of us has. And and I just want to give, for those who just tuned in, we got a bunch of people watching tonight, and it's nice to see everybody. And happy birthday, Wendy, by the way. That you're doing this work literally from the core of your soul, because for those of you who don't know, Buddy is an accomplished actor. He's been in several movies. He's a very funny stand-up comedian that I remember from way back in the day. We have some mutual friends. And this path that he has let himself be led, and really that's the way, I think that's the way you have to do it. You just have to let go of your earthliness and start serving your ethereal purposes. And I can tell you, man, what you're doing is extraordinarily brave, and it is something that more people are going to enter into, one, because of your efforts, and B, because of the whole planet needs what you're doing. And we're about to find out even more and more as time unfolds that there are mystical things happening all over the world, and that we human beings, as our energies rise and strengthen, we're going to find each other, and we'll be able to heal each other and take care of each other on a psychic level and on a mental level, and of course even on a physical level when it all comes down to it. And I just got to compliment you on your courage for leaving the comforts of your home and hearth and heading out there and doing the real work, man. It's the real work.
Hey, buddy, I got a question.
100% of the time now. I don't do any of the other stuff. I quit everything else because, there's so many little things that happen during the day where you're working with this person or helping that person. And I can't tell you how fulfilling it is. I can't describe, what it means to me. And I feel so blessed and honored to be able to be in this position.
Hey, buddy, I got a question. And if you would talk to us about your first awakening, and what I'd like to try and do is address a younger audience here who may not be aware that they're actually having psychic experiences for the first time, and maybe kind of talking about your awakening and any advice you would have to young experiencers at this time, and maybe on the next half of the hour, what you would advise them to do, and how would they approach these extrasensory powers that they may be experiencing and not know what they are.
For me, some of my first early memories were things like synesthesia, where I could taste sounds and different things like that. I also had memories of falling asleep and waking up and saying, why is that painting tilted? It was not tilted the previous night. But my mother also was incredibly psychic, very, very powerfully psychic. And she could kick anyone's butt, from like the biggest, toughest police officer to the mayor to city attorney. I mean, my mom was really an amazing woman, super psychic, super intuitive. She founded the first rape treatment center in the country, the first domestic shelter for women of domestic abuse, and all these things on and on. Hurricanes used to be named exclusively after women as a cutesy little thing. Citizens Crime Watch started in our living room as a campaign against the local rapist, the pillowcase rapist.
Wow.
And all these things. And she had intuition, and she kind of told me about intuition. And, you have to trust your intuition. And, and so that was just always kind of like a family standard for me. I had dreams and those things would happen. I would have feelings that this was going to happen or this person was going to call. And to me, that was all kind of like normal. And I think, as a kid or anyone growing up, consciousness and this body and this life, it all just feels weird. You don't feel like your body kind of feels gross and weird, and you don't understand any of this stuff. And sometimes you're a kid or you're an adult and you're somewhere in your life or somewhere in geography where you don't think you have any power. You don't think you have anything. You're not beautiful enough like the pretty girl in school, or you're not tough enough like the big jock, or you can't help and travel around and help people like other people who have money do, or this, that, and the other. But the reality is, if you realize that your consciousness is not separate from reality, your consciousness is literally woven into the fabric of reality. A lot of people in this field think consciousness is primary, or matter and space-time and energy is primary. But to me, it's a tapestry. They're interwoven. You can't consider one without the other. It's a superposition. It's a very, Westerners, we have a tough time with that kind of a thought. And because it's this tapestry, you can affect anything, anywhere. A lot of people think they don't have power or control of their life. They don't have anything, but they do. They've got so much more than they ever thought. It's like the dog in the bone story, where the dog's on the bridge with the bone in his mouth, and he sees another bone in the reflection in the water and jumps in and loses both bones.
Yep.
And the thing is, we've all had the bone all along. We've had this ability all along. And all you have to do is nurture it a little bit. There's tons of things out there you can do. It's our pleasure to help and send you information and walk you through all sorts of different processes. And when you get the plateaus and different things, everything from remote viewing to Russell Targ's ESP Trainer app that you can get for iPhone, which is my most recommended app. It's from Russell Targ. NASA spent $20 million on it, the original version, and now it's an app that you can play, and it's the only trainer out there. And all the other ones are testers, which will make you feel depressed. The great thing about the trainer is it's a multi-sensory psychophysical response. So you have visual stimuli, sound stimuli, vibration stimuli, all these different types of stimuli when you get the answers correct. Plus, you can pass and see what it would have been. So you can kind of test your own signal.
That's amazing.
And,
hey, buddy, we are at the top of the hour, and we would be blessed if you would stay with us. We have to break for about 6 minutes. We have to play the regular news and some adverts, but we'll be back around 8:06. Can you hang with us?
I would love to. It's my honor. Thank you, guys.
And for those of you who are clicking around while we're gone, you can check Buddy's YouTube page called Alien Protocols. All right. I'm Lou Angelwolf, Mike Murburg, Kathy McGuire. This is the imho.love show. We'll be back in about 6 minutes while we throw some rubbish in your ear.
WTAN, Clearwater.
FM 106.1.
WDCF, Dade City.
FM 102.3.
WZHR, Zephyr Hills.
FM 104.3.
Listen.
About the facts, because there was no crime. It is about a personal political vendetta.
Congresswoman Julia Brownlee of California says House Democrats are not impeaching President Trump. He is impeaching himself.
If you are the president and you obstruct justice, try to bribe a foreign leader, and threaten national security, you're going to get impeached.
President Trump faces 2 articles of impeachment, abuse of power and obstruction of Congress. An affirmative vote in the House sends the charges to the Senate for trial next month that will likely vindicate Trump. I'm Barbara Cusack. The Justice Department announced a crackdown aimed at driving down violent crime in 7 of the nation's most violent cities. Attorney General William Barr released details of the initiative in Detroit.
We're going to provide substantial resources to state and local law enforcement that will have a long-term and lasting effect on the capacity of those agencies to combat violent crime.
Correspondent Steve Kastenbaum reports former Trump campaign manager Paul Manafort will not face another trial, this time in New York on state charges.
The Manhattan District Attorney wanted to try Manafort on mortgage fraud charges, but the judge here said he had already been convicted on charges that included similar allegations at the federal level, and it would be double jeopardy. So Manafort won't be back in court. He's serving 7.5 years after being convicted in federal court on a variety of charges, including tax evasion.
Stocks closed mixed, the Dow off 28 points, the Nasdaq up by 4. I'm Barbara Cusack.
Hi, it's Flo. And you know what word I don't get? Shampoo. The first half of the word is sham, and the second part you definitely don't want to see in the shower. That's why I made up a neat word, Flotection. The feeling of security you get when your new house is protected by home insurance through me and Progressive. I mean, seriously, shampoo? What part of that makes you want to rub it all over your hair?
Save an average of 17% on car insurance when you bundle home and auto through Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers. Discount not available in all states or situations.
You're in charge of hiring, and Indeed has solutions, like online skills tests, which let a candidate show that they're the right hire. Indeed will also give you this sticky frog, which will suddenly leap and stick to the face of the perfect hire. Okay, there's no sticky frog. But skills tests, that's a for sure.
See why independent research by Silk Road shows Indeed delivers 3 times more hires than any other job site. Post your next job at Indeed.com/hire and try skills tests for free. Terms and conditions apply.
E-cigarette Juul is facing yet.
If you would like to become a wholesale buyer of the premium quality longevity product that you hear about right here on the Tan Talk Radio Network for personal service, you can pick up the phone right now and call Lola at 727-441-3311. Again, that's Lola at 727-441-3311. Or for even faster service, log on to tantalkhealth.com. That's tantalkhealth.com. Here's to your health and longevity.
Hello, this is Prior Smith speaking from Toronto, with an invitation to all vacationing Canadians to join me at 9 a.m. and 12 noon each day, Monday through Friday, for Canada Calling, the news from home, in Clearwater on WTAN, AM 1340 and 106.1, in Dade City on AM 1350 and 102.3, and in Zephyr Hills on WZHR, AM 1400 and 104.3. That's Canada Calling, back for another winter season on the Tan Talk Radio Network.
You may be owed some money. After 911 and 411, call 541. That's 727-541-1741. Call Gulfstream Motorsports for a diminished value report. Due to my 28 years experience in the auto salvage business, I'm very good with wrecks. So if your car's been involved in a wreck, call me for a diminished value report. Call 727-541-1741. You may be owed some money for the lost value of your repaired vehicle. And visit us at GulfstreamMotorsports.com.
Hey, did you know there's a live psychology talk show Thursday and Friday at noon where you can call in and get free guidance and also learn several different topics relating to ending the stigma of mental health? It's called Moments of Clarity on WTAN 1340 AM. It's with licensed therapist Tiffany Warner, who will try to end the stigma of mental health. But the only way you can do that is to listen to Moments of Clarity Thursday and Friday at noon on WTAN 1340 AM, the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Hey, everybody, this is Pastor Marcia McAllister from Beacon of Hope Ministries. We want you to join us on Sunday afternoons at 3 o'clock on this radio station for our 2-hour show, talking to you about the Word of God, giving you great contemporary music, some lively chat, and just some food for thought. You'll be encouraged to know how very much God loves you and how He has a plan for your life. Join us this coming Sunday at 3 o'clock on Living the Good Life.
Are you looking for some great restaurants? For some great wines? Where are the great chefs? Listen to Dine Out Radio, heard every Wednesday on the Tan Talk Radio Network. 12 to 1 p.m., we'll tell you where all the great events are. We'll have Food and Wine Magazine and Bon Appetit Magazine. We'll have their editors and writers on each month. And maybe we'll throw in a couple surprises. Check out the website, diningoutradio.com.
My bridges all. Tampa Bay's Tan Talk. Entertaining and informative radio for the Sunshine State.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. It's the imho.love show. That's in my humble opinion.love. I'm Lou Angelwolf here with Mike Murburg, Kathy McGuire. We have a special guest that we're really enjoying and learning so much from this evening. You may know him as Psychic X, or you may also know him as Buddy Bolton. He has been doing miraculous work in the New York City area with using his psychic abilities and his healing abilities to help the local people there, and his practice of his psychic phenomenon is just getting sharper and sharper as he apparently, Buddy, you've gone through a huge disposal of your own ego to get to this particular level.
Absolutely. And adversity as well, too. I think, so oftentimes in life we get so used to our comfort zones and these wonderful comfort zones, and we feel, to have control over a few things gives us confidence and happiness and all these different things. And it's amazing when you take a little bit of control away from people, how it can affect them psychologically. And there's so many different things about this area in particular, the Bronx, that I love, and so many things that I've given up on. I gave up on my ego. I don't want or need to be on stage or on film or TV anymore. I met the places. I wanted to self-challenge myself to get to these different places that I was able to achieve, and I was so deeply thankful and honored to be able to, to make it to Conan and different, stuff. But ultimately, nothing has been nearly as rewarding as this stuff. When, Miss Mimi comes to me and says, oh, my hip feels great today, that's worth $1 billion. Or if a big scientist says, I don't think you're going to be able to do it, and 5 minutes later I'm doing it, and his jaw's fucking dropped.
Yeah.
I feel great. And, Ingo Swann was such a great example for me. Mm-hmm. Ingo was around at the same time as Uri Geller, and Uri Geller really wanted publicity, and he was more of a, he was half magician.
Right.
But Uri hunted down the researchers. He wanted them to see and document this science, and he taught. Mm-hmm. And he did so much of it, especially early on, for free. And that's that same symbol for me. We don't charge for any of the things we do. If anyone's listening and they need a remote viewing, they want healing. They want psychic advice. Anything that we can help with would be our honor to help with.
Wow.
And
That's
the
amazing.
research aspect's really important to us too.
Your
really important.
Your dance card could fill up quickly. Just to remind you, buddy, we are on terrestrial radio, so you got to watch your F-bombs.
Oh, darn it. Okay.
No problem. That's okay. Hey, wait. We're casual speakers here for the most part.
This is family radio.
There are many gathered around the hearth tonight.
Hey, buddy, wouldn't you say that lucre collapses the system?
That what does?
Lucre collapses the system. As soon as money and profit enters into this, that collapses whatever system you're trying to create or promote by way of either the asceticism or the psychic abilities you're trying to develop through what I would see as a life of simplicity and compassion as well as patience.
You know, you really hit the nail on the head there. There is something about profiteering and straying from the path of virtue. And you hear this again and again from people who were very gifted and that the top scientists were researching. And one of them, let's say John Hutchinson, was one who had the ability to do absolutely incredible, mind-boggling stuff that had the scientists' jaws dropped. The CIA, hired him for years to try and find out how he did what he did. The Army did, foreign countries did, all this stuff. But when he changed and wanted more money and profiteering, and he went on a bunch of different medications and all this stuff, and he changed who he was, what had gotten him to that place of, that power that he had underneath the surface.
Yes.
And so for me, I can't profiteer. I'll never profiteer off of any of this stuff. We don't, even though we've got really cool logos and all that stuff, we'll never sell T-shirts. We don't do any of that stuff because for several reasons. One is this is an ability we all have, and it's our obligation to try and help, and love, you shouldn't charge for love. And this is all about love, all of these things.
Amen.
But at the same time, you need to survive. But,
right.
There's a balance, and somehow shamans and, people who've done this kind of thing throughout history, they've survived, and others have, uplifted and supported them. And I've been uplifted and supported by my friends, and it's taught me a lot about pride too.
Mm-hmm.
I used to never want to accept anything from anyone. I took such great pride in providing for others. I was a creative director at different companies that had very good salaries, and it felt so good to take care of others. And since, though, now that I've been on this side doing this stuff, it's just been so wonderful for me. And the whole money thing being an issue to the side, yes, it's a practicality. Yes, you need it. But it's exactly what you said very astutely, that money has an incredible ability, or greed, to undermine your psychic abilities and other abilities.
And that's why I think the whole idea of pure science versus what the CIA, for example, would have, which would be non-altruistic gain, which is why they can only go so far with this. And then when they go so far, they realize, I think the limiting factor is, in fact, the lucre and the gain. As long as you're altruistic about this, completely altruistic, I think you're okay. And let me kind of interject something here. I used to have a bunch of Native American clients, still have a few, but in their culture, when they came in, and I would give advice out for free, they would always leave something. And I would ask them at first, I would say, please don't, please. And they say, no, in our culture, we need to leave you something because you've given us something of value, and we can't leave here without thanking you in some way. So, please be gracious and accept what we're giving to you, and don't offend us by not taking it. And in that kind of culture, that's how the shamans exist. That's how they can continue to, and in numerous Native American cultures, and I've studied more than a few, is that the belief system that they feed into and that produces for them, for example, the Native Americans with the sand paintings, the healing rate of sand paintings is higher for the Navajo than psychiatry is for the Western whites. So
so wonderful to hear that.
Yeah, and it's And it's all a matter of look. There's going to be some remuneration, but not profit. I mean, if you take any more than you need to exist and need to live, then you're taking too much.
And you know what, too? It boils down to, it's like the universe can read your consciousness almost.
Yes.
And you can't fake, you know what I mean? And that's the same thing with CE5 and ET contact. You know, when you work on all of these gifts and you get more in touch with the field, they're going to start appearing for you. They're going to be coming to you. It's just like remote viewing. When you still yourself, like the surface of a lake, you can reflect the universe. And when you still yourself and everything's still, you can make those connections to all of these different abilities.
Yes.
And so with ET, it's oftentimes the same thing. You can have one person in a group with a weird consciousness, or might want to militarize something they see, or, you know, something like that, and you will not have an event.
Yep.
And it's just the nature of consciousness. Your consciousness is not as isolated and impenetrable as you might think.
Absolutely. And now, Buddy, in that line of thought and idea, as we're speaking about this, if the spirit moves somebody and they wanted to, you know, help you out, because you have a vehicle to maintain, you have food to buy, fuel, whatnot. Is there any way anybody could get in touch with you to help fund you, or just a gift of the spirit? Is there anything? Is there?
I would love it, especially this time of year. I've got a PayPal, and it's Squishy Paw, SQUISHYPAW. My cat's name was Squishy. It's Squishy Paw at AOL.com.
Uh-huh.
Or if they have Venmo or some other way, they could always email me at alienprotocols@gmail.com. That's alien protocols, plural.
And we'll stick with that one.
You know, we would love to help. If anyone's, you know, more so than the money, you know, God will provide, and God will divide the bread and the loaves for me. But if you have an issue, if you're hurting, if you're in pain physically, if you need remote viewing for a variety of different things, we want to be there to help you. So reach out to us. We were not going to ask for any money at the end of it. We would refuse it if you tried to, on the heels of us trying to help you. And we've got a whole group of people. It's not just me. I mean, really talented, the most talented people that I've been able to find. Like Super Sleuth leads our healing efforts. And Super Sleuth is amazing and has been a wonderful friend and a really powerful person in the community as well, helping and uplifting and sharing information. And you guys are like that too. You know, you get to this sensibility when you're an empathetic person like you, Lou, and like you, Mike. And, you just understand. You know what I mean? And you guys just understand. And I'm really thankful. I want to say a couple things about where I'm working and what I'm doing. Right now I'm involved in 3 different projects. One is with a member of the Aviary, and it's a non-local, I guess I can say, psychokinesis test.
Okay.
Another project I'm working on is with a well-known, a known director and the head of a research project. And most people know, a large number of people would know this research project. And they're just kind of doing some experiments. And the other day we had a crazy experiment where they called me out of the blue and said, hey, we want you to do an outbounder on me, on the head scientist. And I ended up describing both of them and their activities. It was a double viewing, right down to something really weird where both of the wives were simultaneously drinking red drinks. One wife, you could tell immediately. The director said, you know, oh my gosh, you know, my wife was drinking the red drink. And the other, the head scientist had to go home and ask, you know, around noon, were you drinking anything? And she has a famous red concoction that she drinks. So
she had a Kool-Aid mustache.
Called a Bloody Mary for lunch.
This exploration is so fun. It's so exciting. God has given us these gifts, and every time it's a different adventure.
That's beautiful.
And it's so fun.
Hey, buddy, Kat Carroll, who's a friend of the show and just a lovely human being, she asked me to ask you about the bird that you picked up. Is there a bird story coming up here?
There's a bunch of little interesting stories. This one was really touching. There was a bird that was, you can see the video on my channel. It seemed like it was dead.
Uh-huh.
It wasn't moving. It was a little bit of a windy day, so I could see the wind moving through its feathers a little bit, but it wasn't really moving. And for like 10 minutes, it was, either stunned or dead or whatever. And I just prayed over it. I'm Christian. I believe in God. A lot of people think that people who are psychic are evil or this, or believe in ET or satanic or whatever, but it's just the opposite. I give all credit to higher powers. We never take credit for anything. And
True.
With this situation, this little bird, I prayed over it and prayed over it and prayed over it. And you can see in the video, it comes to life and flies off and just, it makes me very emotional because the Bible talks about the sparrow. And for me, I've been very much like that part in the Bible where they say the sparrow will be provided for. And how does a sparrow eat? How does a sparrow get every meal every day? This little tiny bird in a crappy city, with junk and dirt. And so, how do they survive? But God provides for all of us.
That's beautiful, man.
This little bird, wow, it just really shook me and got me very emotional. And it was a wonderful lesson that God kind of taught me through that moment.
You sure he just wasn't?
You can see that video on our channel.
You sure he just wasn't shagged out after a long squawk?
He could have been like, he could have been stunned. It wasn't like it was near a window or anything. It was like on the ground next to a car.
Monty Python lines aren't funny unless you do them with an English accent. And buddy, I let a little notice out that you were going to be on the show tonight, and we have a mutual friend in Jeff Martyr, who really respects and digs you. He asked me to ask you on the air. He said, how do you turn it off? Like when you're into your psychic loop, how do you turn it off? What is your technique to maintain your personal equilibrium? Because
great question.
Yeah, it really is. So you're all involved. You're getting the messages. The energy is flowing through you. When it's all over, how do you go back to base camp?
This is a door kind of you open, and you learn how to open the door and listen inside, and you learn more and more control over that door over time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really important to have balance. Despite the fact that I've given up my day jobs and all the other stuff I do, there's other things I do. And it's important to do these other things so you can come back to the table with a good heart, a good perspective, and balance. So the point that he's bringing up about being able to turn it off, for me, it's easy to turn it off. I mean, yes, there'll be things that'll happen when I don't want them to happen. I'll get visions or I'll get a gestalt or, that happens. But when I'm generally turning it off and trying to lock into something else, I can do that, most of the time without very much distraction.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a great, great question. And that balance is so crucial to a healthy overall human.
That's beautiful, man. And by the way, our friend Donna writes in Matthew 6:26 speaks about the birds and how the birds of the field are constantly fed.
That's actually one of my favorite songs is Eyes on the Sparrow, and I know he watches over me.
Well, there you go. Yeah, we got some wonderful energy flowing here. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to the imho.love show. I'm Lou Angelwolf, Mike Murburg, Kathy McGuire here in the studio. And on the line with us is Buddy Bolton, also known as Psychic X. If you go to my Facebook page, you have some beautiful articles come out in the last couple of weeks explaining what it is that you're doing. And so if you can check that there on my Facebook page, Lou Angelwolf Facebook. And it also will all be reposted on imho.love on Facebook. And Michael also reposts everything on imho.love YouTube. And, this type of effort is purely of the heart, because what it is that you're doing, it really bucks against everything that America tells you to do.
So true.
And in a way, you're going to have your critics that say you're just a kooky old guy that just wants to do this stuff. But then again, there are none so blind as those who will not see. So you have realized this gift. You have taken it unto yourself and given up many, many, many worldly possessions and ideals. And you are living very close to your humanity and your spirituality. They are surviving harmoniously in your vessel, and the work that you're doing really is of an ethereal nature, because Joe Sixpack doesn't think like this. And I know you've had your successes in Hollywood and this and that and the other thing, and you've had things shining on you for many, many years. But tell us a little bit how you got to that point where you wanted to let the light shine from inside out instead of outside in. How'd that happen?
Well, I think a convergence of things happened. Those of us who are just observant know that times are very, very different for humanity now than they've ever been. They've said for many hundreds of years humanity has, it's the best of times, it's the worst of times. But right now there is a real reason to say that this is a critical, crucial, desperate time.
Mm-hmm.
And we're in the middle of the 6th mass extinction. There's zero doubt about that. You can talk to any biologist. There's major, major things happening to our planet. There are a convergence of eschatological dangers that are very evident. And for me, so much of this is about unlocking human potential. A lot of people, and especially in the past couple of years when I've really been trying to get my skills better, have said wonderful things to me that allowed me to grow larger and better at all of these things. And there are simple thoughts like, this is a no failure zone. You can't fail here.
Mm-hmm.
So I want you to try, and you can fail as big as you want, buddy. And there's no shame here. And when you get that kind of mentality, you can really unlock your potential. Because the second if you think of yourself as a scientist as opposed to any of these other things, scientists never fail. They always learn from the data, the facts, the information. You're always learning.
Yes.
So if you can feel comfortable enough to fail really big, you can do the impossible. And the impossible, you'll realize, only lives in your fears. Some of the things that I've been involved with and done, just sound absolutely loopy. And I'd just rather have other people talk about them when, they want to present the evidence. But I've bent metal in front of people without touching it.
Mm.
I've done things that you would just think are just completely nuts. But it's a re-challenge. Ingo Swann said that, as a society, we've been acting subnormal. And that people like me and remote viewers and empaths and people like you guys, we are normal. We're not the weirdos who are out there CE5 and working on this stuff. Everyone outside of that is subnormal. The greedy people who only care about money and are destroying the environment, destroying it for their grandchildren.
Oh.
They can look down through their nose at me, but I don't care. I'm fighting for all the good things. And I'll never regret for a millisecond, and this time on our planet is a very precarious time, and it needs all of us to get involved, to unlock our potential. And our children need to have these abilities, maybe just to survive the future. It's going to be tough, guys. Look at the population numbers versus resources.
It's one of the things that I have a young son. He's 20 years old, and it's one of the things that I talk to him about all the time is, he's in college now and he's preparing himself for a life of work because apparently we're buying into the maze. But what I'm telling him is that his spiritual fitness is going to be the thing that carries him through all of his days.
Absolutely.
And by the way, too, Dr. Simeon Hine is listening to the show, and he wanted to compliment you, saying that you just did a great job in a remote viewing class that you had with him. And
I had some staggering results, and everyone in the class did, because, my opinion, Dr. Hine is the best remote viewing teacher.
We love him.
He teaches Ingo's method. And wow, the class was all pros and just had literally like 95% accuracies. And all the drawings were crazy. I won't even get into it. But
well, we don't have time. Consequently, this is the fastest hour on radio, ladies and gentlemen. We've been talking with Buddy Bolton, also known as Psychic X. We would love to have you back on, man, because it just seems like we're just getting started.
It just went so fast. That time didn't. I love you guys. And it would be my pleasure anytime. We could do some stuff live on the air. I could do some remote viewings. I could do some other things live. We could maybe take calls for, whatever you guys want. I would love to help in any way.
From your lips to God's ears. Ladies and gentlemen.
Let's do this, kitten.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the imho.love show. I'm Lou Angelwolf. On behalf of Mike Murburg and Kathy McGuire, we thank you so much for listening in. And you can stay in touch with Buddy at Alien Protocol. Alien Protocols on YouTube. If you want to make a donation, there's some websites up there, Alien Protocols at gmail.com. Thank you so much for your time. It means so much to us when you tune in with us. And remember what we say all the time. Use your head, but trust your gut. Have a great week.
Love and peace, y'all.
We've got the world's finest music from yesterday and today right here at your radio station. It's the music of your life on the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Without you, honey, I'll be so blue. Just thinking about you. And you'll be too.